Hello, honors pre-algebra students. This is Sunday, January 22nd, and I just wanted to make a quick video going over all the things due this week for Chapter 7 and also give you the answers to the review. Not only the answers, but also working out the answers to the review because that's going to help you prepare to take the Chapter 7 test. So here we go. One of the things that is due this Wednesday with all of the other Chapter 7 materials is the Chapter 7 outline. On the second page you had a homework sheet and there were 5 questions per lesson, giving you a total of 25 points for Chapter 7, and that's going to be a summative grade. So if you're looking at this sheet on the outline and you have any questions at all, make sure that you request a Google Hangout with me or send me an email. Take care of that this first couple of days this week so that you can make sure and get 100% on this summative grade. And just a reminder, summative means that it's 80% of your grade. And so when you have all of these great resources, make sure to access them because there's really no reason why you shouldn't get 100% on this assignment. The second thing that I'll remind you is your Chapter 7 notes. Okay, most of you do a really great job of keeping your notebook neat and tidy. Others of you are still learning management pieces, but I will be taking a grade on these Chapter 7 notes, so make sure all of these items are filled in as you are watching the videos for Edpuzzles, and then also make sure that each note sheet not only has the objectives written in and the vocabulary, but you should have information in this area with the video tutor notes and example problems. This should not be blank. And if it is, then that worries me because there's always something new to learn and ways to stretch yourself. So even if you skip ahead in a lesson to some of the challenge problems, work those out here. Challenge yourself to go above and beyond what is expected of you. Because remember, if you do just what's expected, that's a C-level student. And to get to that B and A level range, it means you're going above and beyond to challenge yourself. So second item reminder, this Wednesday, this Chapter 7 checklist, all of these notes should be completed, and I will be taking a grade on that as well. The final thing that I'll go over is your Chapter 7 pretest, and that is a way for you to prepare for the actual test. And so I'm going to go over these problems and you can check yours. You can also check it with just the answer key, but sometimes hearing it explained really helps out with how you'll understand it. For number 1, you can either use the distributive property to distribute -4/9 to positive 27 and negative 18, or you can use the order of operations. I'll solve it both ways to show that they both yield the same answer. 27 minus 18 is 9, and -4/9 times 9 is equal to -4. If you took -4/9 times 27, -4/9 times 27, 27 and 9 have a common factor of 9, so I could reduce that. -4 times 3 is -12. And then -4/9 times -18, remember that is a minus sign and it belongs to the 18. -4/9 times -18. 9 goes into 9 once, into 18 twice. -4 times -2 is a positive 8. And -12 plus 8 also gives you an answer of -4. For number 2, the expression can be evaluate when you know the value of the variable. So I can put in 0.5 for x. Again, you can utilize the distributive property or simply use the order of operations. -16 plus a half is -15.5 times -8 is going to give me a positive answer. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply like normal, and we get 124. as our answer for number 2. For number 3, we're supposed to write an algebraic expression using h for the number of hours that Elijah babysits for more than 5 hours. And so as you read the problem, you know that he gets $12 an hour, but he takes away $2.50 for any hours over 5 hours. And so we have something that looks like this. Now if you went ahead and reduced that, 12 minus 250 would be 9.5 H, I believe. And if you had that, that would be okay as well. For number 4, to rewrite that using the distributive property, you could see that these are essentially two multiplication problems being added together. And what do they both have in common? They both have in common a 16. So that's what I can pull out. Okay, and if I pull out the 16, what I'm left with in the first problem is 13. And I could do negative 13 because if I only pulled out the positive sign from the 16, that negative would have to go somewhere. So that could take care of that. And then I could do plus the 14 because if I take out a 16 from this multiplication problem, I'm left with that 14. So it looks something like that. For number 5, we're talking about the width of a rectangle. I'm going to draw a picture here really quickly. The width is 4x and the length is 6x minus 2. What happens to the area if the length is doubled? Well, let's just use regular numbers. If we had a length of 8, oops, we had a length of 8, and a width of 3, the area would be 24. What would happen if the length was doubled? If I doubled the 16 there, sorry, I'm trying a new tool here and it's not cooperating. If I doubled the 8 and made that 16, what would happen for my area? Well, 16 times 3 is 48. What happened between 24 and 28? It actually doubled. So the answer to number 5 is that it doubles too. The area doubles if you double the length. For number 6, the expression 8p minus 10, what would you have to subtract from that 8p minus 10 to end up with only p? Well, 8p minus 7p is 1p, and if you subtracted 10, you would get negative 10, take away plus 10, excuse me, sorry about that. What would you have to take away? So let's just see here. If we had 8p minus 10, take away 7p plus 10. Let's write that down. Let's say that we thought that that was the answer. Well, 8p minus 7p is equal to 1p, but negative 10 take away 10 would be minus 20. So in order to get rid of that 10, that negative 10 there, this would have to be a positive right here. So let's rewrite this as 8p minus 10 plus a negative 7p minus 10. So we have 8p plus negative 7p, which would be 1p, and then negative 10 plus a positive 10. This would have to be a positive 10 there. So sorry about all these extra things that are popping up here. I know that's distracting. It'd have to be a positive 10 to subtract from that. So 8p minus 7p would be For number 6, what linear expression would you subtract from 8p minus 10 to have a difference of p? Well, I think it's pretty easy to recognize that you'd have to subtract 7p from the 8p to get just p. But how do you get rid of that 10? So we have 8p minus 10, and then we have minus, and then we have 7p, and then what's this number here? Is it a positive 10 or a negative 10? Let's put in a positive 10 and see how that plays out. 8p minus 7p is the 1p that we are trying to get. But look what we have here. If this is a positive 10, okay, we have negative 10 take away 10, which is a negative 20. So it can't be a positive 10 there. It has to be a negative 10. So we get 8p minus 7p, and that gives us the 1p. And then when we get negative 10 take away a negative 10, it becomes negative 10 plus 10. So we get a 0 there. So the final answer should be 7p minus 10 for number 6. Number 7, Chang and Cal both have pearls. Chang has 3 more than Cal. Write an expression to represent the total number. Well, Cal has C, and Chang has 3 more than C. Sorry, 3 more than Cal, so that's C plus 3. So together they have 2C plus 3 pearls. The parentheses are not necessary there. For number 8, the perimeter of a triangle-shaped amphitheater is 100x plus 90. The two sides of the triangle are 45x minus 10 and 25x plus 50. So I'm just going to draw a triangle. I know that that's not exactly what the dimensions are, but basically we have one side that's 45x minus 10, and we have 25x plus 50, and the total needs to be 100x. So let's take a look at all of our coefficients here. We have 45x plus 25x, so that's a total of 70x. So the remaining x's would need to be 30 to add up to 100. We also have negative 10 and a positive 5, sorry, a positive 50. Should be a 50 right there. And negative 10 plus 50 is 40. So to get from 40 to 90, we would have to add 50. So the final answer should be 30x plus 50, and then you want to go ahead and label that with yards. For the greatest common factor of 63GH and 81GHJ, you could pull out a 9, leaving you with 7GH and 9GHJ. And the variables that they have in common are G and H, leaving you with 7 and 9J. 7 and 9J do not have any more factors in common, so our greatest common factor is 9GH. And for number 10, Niles factored this problem as 5x, pulling out 5x, but notice that 25 and 10 both have 5 as a common factor, but the x is only found in this term, so we can't pull out the x. The mistake that he made is that he pulled or factored out an x instead of a z. Okay, so you should write that out. Factored out a x instead of a z. The final answer should be factoring out a 5z and leaving a 2y for the first term and a 5x for the second term. And you know you've done it correctly if the ones inside the parentheses don't have anything in common. We knew this one was wrong because they both had a z in common. Okay, so going on to number 11 on the next page. Let me scoot this over so you can see it. An animal hospital provides aid to sick and injured sea turtles, and the cost of the visiting hospital for X number of visitors is shown in the table. So for number 11, the constants in each expression, the constants are these guys hanging out by themselves, the +5 and the +10, represent the amount of money that is donated directly to a specific sea turtle each month. What amount for each ticket is donated directly to a turtle? So on the weekday, it's $5, and on the weekend, it's $10. For number 12, an expression in factored form that is equivalent to the sum of the weekday and the weekend. If you add these two together, you should get 22.5x plus 25. And what do they both have in common? What do those coefficients both have in common? They have a 5 in common. So if you factor out the 5, you get 4.5x plus 5 in factored form. Actually, that is not correct because I misadded 5 and 10 to be 25 instead of 15. So this should say 15 right here instead of 25. And if I factor out a 5 of 15, that should be a 3 and not a 5. So if I factor out the 5, I should have 4.5x plus 3 left. For number 13, an expression that is equivalent to the sum of the weekday, oh, that was the one I just did, I'm sorry, an expression of how much greater the cost is, and so we can subtract it. So we can say 15x minus 750, which is 750x, and then $10 minus $5 is $5. So the the expression would be 7.5x plus 5. For number 14, the side lengths of the triangle are given there, and it wants to know the perimeter. So I need to add all of those expressions. 5x plus 6x is 11x. 11x plus 6x is 17x. And then we have a positive 1, take away 10, which is negative 9. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. For number 15, we can factor out a 3/4, and what we're left with from 3/4 x is x. But this might be the challenging part. We're saying basically 3/4 of what number is equal to 24? Well, if we multiply by the reciprocal, we get 32. So x plus 32. And go ahead and check it. 3/4 times x is 3/4 x. 3/4 times 32 is 1, 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay. For number 16, it says a swimming pool and adjacent playground have an area of 55 square meters and 25x square meters. Write an expression in factored form, so the total area. Well, the total area is 25x plus 55. Now to factor that, we want to know what they have in common. Well, they have a 5 in common. So if we pull that out, we're left with 5x. Remember, 5 times 5x is 25x. And if we pull out a 5 from 55, we get 11. 5 times 11 is 55. And of course, that's square meters because we're talking about area. Finally, number 17, the square-shaped garden perimeter is 16x plus 20. So in order for all four sides to add up to 16x, they would each need to be 4x for the perimeter. And then the plus 20, the constant, would have to be 5, 10, 15, and 20. So the side length would be 4x plus 5 and feet for the label. I hope that review helps you get through the Chapter 7 pretest, or not pretest, but review. And I know some of you will probably choose to just check your answers from the answer key, but this is how I'm going to help you out a little by explaining it and working out each of those problems. Request a Google Hangout if you need to, or shoot me an email, but remember that your Chapter 7 materials are all due on Wednesday this week, and so it's important to make sure we plan accordingly what's going to happen Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And you might spend an entire day going through this test and review and making sure you understand. Let me know if you have any questions.